Hello friends and welcome back to my TBR closet. It's currently organized alphabetically. I currently have 226 books in my TBR closet. By the end of the year, we're going to get that down to 200 because I'm going to be reading 26, one for each letter of the alphabet. In this first vlog, we're going to go through the letters A, B, C, and D. I have a little separate wheel for each of them. We're starting with A. A is up here. Every single of the 20 books in my TBR closet that start with the letter A, well, they're not in my TBR closet right now, they're right here, are represented by this wheel. I have ones that have been in my TBR closet for upwards of 7 years. I have some that I've owned for maybe a handful of years. And then this stack is all pretty much from the last year, which is a lot. I don't know if you want me to tell you every single title that I have here and all of the options on the wheel before I spin it. I haven't done that yet. I just finished building this like 5 seconds ago and I'm scared it doesn't have any integrity. There are two options that aren't specifically books that you can probably tell. One of them says my choice. One of them says viewer's choice. If I land on this, it means I'll go in my community tab on YouTube and I will put up a poll with some options. I think I can only do 4. You know, I'm not really sure what to do with that yet. I just put it up here because I had some extra spaces. When we go to C, there's not going to be any extra options because I actually only have 4 books in my TBR closet that start with C. But I would love for you to help me in future episodes decide exactly what you want with this content. What other little triangle options you would like. It can be anything. It could be close your eyes and randomly pick one. It could be spin again. I don't know. I think I should tell you all of the books, I guess. It might be a little bit boring, but you can skip ahead, I suppose. You're in charge. The Age of Miracles, A Good Scent from a Strange Mountain, A Grim Reaper's Guide to Catching a Killer, and A Sweet Sting of Salt, A Sorceress Comes to Call, and A Love Like This. Or wait, A Love Like the Sun. I think I wrote A Love Like This on here. Indeed I did. A Sunny Place for Shady People, and The Argonauts. As the Wicked Watch, American Scary. A Killing Cold, A Land So Wide, A Good Year, and All the Colors of the Dark. A Dreadful Splendor, A Woman Is No Man, A Mercy, A Half-Built Garden, and Then She Fell, and A Far Wilder Magic. If you'd like to see me organize my TBR shelf by alphabet and just go through it all, I do have a members video where I do that. Let me know which one you wish I picked. If it landed on viewer's choice, what would you have selected? And if it lands on my choice, ooh, let's see what I would pick. There's a couple books in here that don't have the highest ratings that I don't know when else I'm going to convince myself to read, so I would like the wheel to do it for me. There's also some intimidating books that I would like the wheel to make me read because I'm probably not going to pick it myself. And then there's a couple that I would say I'm most intrigued by at this exact moment, but also ones that I just know that I want to read. I want to read everything here, which is exciting. No matter what it lands on, I'm going to be stoked. Let's line it back up perfectly and take it for a spin. I really hope this first spin works. Oh my gosh, should I close my eyes? Should I stare at it and hope it lands? Oh my god. My choice. My choice. Okay, listen. I know that that's not the most fun way to start out the video, but hear me out. I feel like this is a really good way to start out the video. You want me to read what I want. I want me to read what I want. Yes, this technically takes up 2 spots. You will certainly get to see me not land on that again. I think if I actually land on that again, I'd probably just edit it out and pretend it never happened. But I kind of think this is a fun way to start. I didn't expect that. I would say I'm just gonna read the first chapter of a bunch of things and then choose. But I've actually read the first chapter of most of these books already. This is too much pressure, but I guess I'll talk to you when I've made a decision. So, what I decided to read is A Far Wilder Magic. And I don't know if I should be in charge of what I read. This is the point of the spinner wheel, so I'm not in charge because I don't make the best decisions. Here's the reason I picked A Far Wilder Magic. They're 5-fold. I wanted to read it. That's reason enough. It keeps showing up in various videos where I could select it from like a bunch of things and then I don't select it. It's gone in and out of my TBR closet multiple times. I read the first chapter of it and gave it like an 8 out of 10. 5, I just want it out of my life. Like I keep looking at it and it's been in the background of so many videos and I just feel like I've already read it because I've talked about it so many times. It's one of the oldest books on my TBR, so this was what I chose. I'm halfway through, so I can't give up on it now. And I feel like I've been reading it for days. Like it's just, it feels like a very long book for what it is. There's a hunt in it and we haven't even gotten to the hunt. And I don't think the hunt is even starting. There's like other things and competitions that people are participating in, I think. So we have these two characters. I'm not hating it. Okay. I just don't think this is going to be like, you know, the 4.5, 5 star that I'm desperately grasping for. We have these two characters and they're from different religions and they've grown up. Our main character is Margaret. She's grown up with this legend, the Hala, who's this mythical creature, but it comes around every once in a while and a hunt begins. Like that's the tradition of the village. And whoever is able to kill the Hala will earn fame and riches and unlock an ancient magical secret. So Margaret is a sharpshooter and we have this guy named Weston who comes to town. They meet and he's an alchemist. And to participate in the hunt, you have to work together as a team. And so they are combining their forces reluctantly. And yeah, we've just gotten a lot of them just kind of talking to each other, talking about the differences between how they were raised and their different family lives. And I don't know, it's not bad, but it is YA, and maybe that's a portion of it that is making me feel, because I know I always say I don't read a ton of YA anymore. And so I actually did an unhaul and I got rid of a lot of YA, but everyone tells me like there's a certain selection of books, probably like 5 to 10 books that I've talked about in my life or that I have in my TBR that people say like, even if you aren't reading a lot of YA and you don't love it as much as you used to, this is still worth reading. And this is one of those. And I can't say that because it's about younger characters, like they're 17, 18, that's why I'm not liking it or why I'm not loving it. But I do think that if we were in the same setting and we had older characters who were talking about like their careers and more of their lives, and they were talking about, you know, past, I don't know, relationships, and they just had more to their life experience, I might be enjoying it more. The hunt is an interesting concept. It just hasn't happened yet. And that's fine because halfway through is only 180 pages and we do have to build a lot of things between them. The writing is good. And I guess I am still interested enough to continue. Like I want to be in the hunt. I want to be in the competition. I want to know the unlocking of the ancient secrets. Like I'm still intrigued. I just feel like it's taking a while. Worst case scenario. Or no, worst case scenario would be I DNF'd the book. I guess second worst case scenario. I have nothing to say about this book. Like I just have no review. I'm going to have to think of something to say. I'm giving it 3 stars and I feel very little towards it. It didn't do anything wrong. It didn't do anything great. I do think it was good for me to read it because I and all of you would have been like, but what if this was going to be like my book? What if it was perfect for me and I just gave up on it? At least I read it. This has been on my TBR for at least 4 years. I'm happy to have finished it. It was kind of exhausting to read. I kept thinking, how are there this many pages left? It felt like the storyline was wrapping up before we even went on the hunt. Something weird about this book. Oh my God, did I tell you what this book's about? Yeah, I did. There's like a hunt for a mythical creature. And our main character has some trauma, some stress about her family life. And she's finding this boy to help her feel confident and feel like she has a purpose. And that was really nice. There's this weird portion of the book where it's not a love triangle because you never actually think that he's going to end up with someone else. But there are many chapters, many scenes where Weston is interested in another girl. And there's a purpose to it because, you know, there's something happening behind the scenes. And they have like they're trying to get something out of each other, I guess. But it's just like, why did we spend so much time not with our main couple? Because it didn't create like a fun tension. It didn't create any like jealousy or anything for the reader. It was just like distracting me when they could have just been friends. Even if he wasn't interested in her romantically and like talking about wanting to kiss her and like wanting, like forget about the other girl. Like, I want to be interested in this girl. Like, I understand, I guess, the intent. This really isn't the plot of the book, but it's all I can really hyperfixate on. He wants to forget about Margaret. He doesn't want to be interested in her. She's not the best for him, etc. And so it gives him this other thing to do. And I guess, like, there's a reason for it. It just seemed kind of silly. I tried to listen to the audiobook for a bit, and the accent for his character was so weird. Like, I actually really hated it. The descriptions were beautiful. I like a forest core, you know, kind of book. I liked their relationship enough, but I don't really care about either of these characters. I'm never gonna think about them again. It felt like 20 other YA forest fantasies that I've read. So that's that. Not the most exciting way to kick off the video, but I already spun the wheel for the B's because I thought if I knew what book I was going to end up reading, it would help motivate me to get through this so I could start on the next one. So let's head over to that footage that I took hours ago. Oh, actually, before we get into that, a reason that it took me so long to read this too is because Rob and I got so distracted by watching His and Hers. And I'm so glad that I completely forgot what happened in the book because we were gagged by the show. Like, the couple, well, there was one thing that I kind of remembered and I talked about it to him as if it was like a theory of mine, but I knew that it was happening. I loved all the actors. I love a mini series, and I would really love recommendations from you if there's any other mystery thriller ones just like that exist in a contained amount of episodes and aren't going to become seasons and seasons, because that was so enjoyable. And I can't think of the last time that we watched something together where we were sitting and like theorizing everything that we thought was happening. It was so fun to watch. It was so engaging. There were so many questions. Any recommendations? Would love to hear them. Now, on to the B wheel. I have my choice still on here. I don't want the choice, and I don't want to land on there. So I'm going to do everything in my powers to not land there. This is just not a good decision-making time for me. So maybe I should change it to something else, but instead I'm just going to imagine it's not going to happen. Okay, these are all the B's that I have. There are 4 collections here. We've got the Book of Magic, the Book of Witches, Black Magic Women. It's all in a theme. And then this one is an essay collection called Be Scared of Anything. Any of those 4, I would be so excited to get. I have 3 fantasy, horror, I don't even know what to call it, Black Mad Wheel, The Bone Orchard, and Black Leopard, Red Wolf. I don't want to read any of these right now, but I'm excited that they're still in my TBR closet. Like, I'm actively interested in reading them, but not with today's brain. And then this stack of general fiction, some of them a little sci-fi influence, a little mystery influence, but we've got Better by Far, Blood Test, The Bluest Eye, The Book of Unknown Americans, The Bandit Queens, Breakfast of Champions, Beautyland, and Brotherless Night. I don't really think I have a preference with any of those. 15 books here. There was one extra slot, so that's why it says my choice. I'm a little bit nervous. It's like when everything is an option and I feel like I would most want to read anything, but there's only a couple things that I'm scared about. It's like, well, I know I'm gonna get one of those now. Where do I want it to land? Like, around here? Yeah, this feels like the safest area. So if I start here, then it'll come back to here. And one of these, like 5 around here. Beautyland. Okay, I'm not mad about that pick. I think I've put it off for a long time because when it first came out, a lot of people were like, you have to read this one. You have to read this one. And then I thought that it was about the beauty industry, and I kept talking about it as if it was about the beauty industry. And I kept putting it in my mind with like natural beauty and rouge. And then people were like, no, that's not what it is at all. And so I don't actually think after people told me that, I looked up what it was. But like, I know I've read the synopsis before, which is why I picked it up. At the moment when Voyager 1 is launched into space, carrying its famous golden record, a baby of unusual perception is born to a single mother in Philadelphia. Adina is tiny and jaundiced, but she reaches for warmth and light. As a child, she recognizes that she's different. She possesses knowledge from a faraway planet. Oh yeah, so she has memories of something and she can like change the world maybe? Is this what I would have picked? No. If it landed on my choice, no. But it's probably in my top like 10 of 15. And you already know that because I told you the ones that I didn't want to land on. And at least I didn't land on the ones I didn't want to land on. I've been reading Beautyland and having a great time. This is one that I want to take my time with and I want to read slower because I think I'm not quite halfway and I just think it could be a 5-star and I don't just want to finish it so quickly. But I'm about to sit here for an hour and a half, depends how long it takes Liam to do a math test. I don't know if there's something I can really compare it to because it kind of reminds me of reading We Are the Ants in a way, or I'm sure there's like a bunch of books I've read like 10 years ago that I would think to compare to this, but it's clearly written for adults in a similar way to like Chlorine, where you're reading it and you're like, this is about a child becoming a teenager, growing up, discovering themselves, but it doesn't feel like it's necessarily written for that audience. But it's not written absolutely like, don't, oh my God, read this if you're the same age as the protagonist. It's like an alien story, sure, but in the way that maybe Black Girl Unlimited is a wizard story. So it's all kind of a metaphor, I think, for something else, and just feeling like you don't belong and feeling like nobody cares for you in the way that they're supposed to. Like her mother provides the basic necessities, but kind of leaves her to figure out a lot of stuff on her own, and not in a fun, independent way, but in a way of like, I'm too lazy to properly parent you. She sends her away for the summer to be with someone else, pretends it's her own choice. She's making friends with these new girls. She's starting to have little relationships, but at every turn, she's just very unsure of herself and can't figure out, you know, social cues very easily, feels ugly and unwanted. But it's not also a really depressing book because she feels or knows that she is here for a greater purpose. She finds this fax machine where she can communicate with her planet. It could be her planet or it could be a metaphor. And she's sending all the things that she's like learning about life as she goes through it. And she gets these faxes back from her alien people and they're like, oh yeah, we already know that about that. And you should, like, it's kind of encouraging her, I guess, in a way. And this is kind of her outlet. And Beautyland is a reference to like the beauty counter at the mall. Her mother goes and she's obsessed with perfumes and cosmetics. And at the same time is telling her daughter, like, don't get involved with that too early. You don't want to get obsessed with beauty, but exemplifying somebody who is obsessed with beauty. And it also is kind of told via vignettes. They're very short little moments. Adina was here and she did this day, and then we flash, you know, months later and Adina's doing this. It's just kind of like formative moments in her life. And I don't know how old we're gonna get her. She's approaching like college age, and I wonder if we're going to see her that age for longer or if it's going to continue at this pace moving through her entire life. But yeah, I'm hooked. Safe to say, I am very hooked. This is a really well-liked book. It was in the Goodreads Choice Awards last year. I remember when I was picking something from the category, a lot of people were passionate that I would like this, and I guess that's why I ended up picking it up at some point and putting it in my TBR closet. It was probably in there for, I don't know, when did I haul this? I'm gonna say 6 months to a year ago. So this was not in there as long as the last book, which was in there for like 5 years. So we got a good balance going on. Even with its popularity though, it has a relatively high average rating. I feel like this is the kind of book that some people would pick up, having it pitched to them as an alien story and go, I don't read literary fiction. Like, what was that? That was not science fiction. Like, that was not about an alien. That was just a story of a woman going from, you know, birth to age 40. And at the same time, if you pick it up knowing that, you might expect it to be a really emotionally devastating book. And I could see people crying at the end, but I just don't think it's that kind of heavy novel. And then if you pick it up expecting like a heartwarming, kind of uplifting book about humanity, it's not that either. It's more mundane. It's more about nothing. It's her recognizing things about humans in the same way that that Matt Haig one is, but even less alien-y in here. It's like humans, I've noticed humans do this weird thing. I've noticed that humans like this. And it's kind of about a lot of different flawed individuals just doing their best. There's no villain, there's no hero, there's no tied up beautiful endings. Like there's a lot of openness, there's a lot of wondering what could happen. It felt like a very Kayla kind of book, though I recognize it does have, like I said, a high average rating and people are really liking this. It feels kind of like a sneaky favorite, one that not everyone knows about. It's not on, you know, every popular shelf at the bookstore, but the people who get it, get it. And this was my first 5-star of the year. I'm so glad after questioning this whole video concept after the first book didn't go incredibly because I probably picked the wrong book. The wheel picked the right book for me, but also it's because you and I picked the right book to add into my TBR closet. So happy to have read it. I love when this happens with a closet book because like it was just sitting there. I don't know why I think of it as like its own entity, as if it was just sitting in the shelf. Like, wait, I'm gonna be a 5-star. Just come on. And then I finally did, and I was a 5-star, and I'm so happy. That's that, and I'll see you when I'm spinning the wheel tomorrow. It's time to spin for one of these 4 books. This is one of the smallest amounts that I have. There is one letter that you'll see in a Far From Now episode that only has one book represented, The Besties Know, that I'll guarantee be reading. And there's a couple letters that I don't actually have anything. I don't have, for some reason, any books in my TBR closet that start with U or Y or X. So let me know what you think I should do about that. Find titles with that letter, find authors with that letter, pull things from my Goodreads TBR shelf, or just skip that letter altogether, because if the goal is to hit every letter and it doesn't actually start with that letter, like, should that even count? I don't know, but then I'm not reading 26 books by the end. Today, we have these 4. Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut, Candelaria by Melissa Lozado Oliva, The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, and Cold by Drew Hayden Taylor. These are all different genres. They're very different lengths. I would actually say they're all a little bit intimidating to me. The least would probably be this one. And I know there's quite a few Kurt Vonnegut in my collection, and I think I have to get to one of his eventually. So I'm gonna manifest this one, but I don't actually care too much. They all intrigue me, but they all are daunting in their own way. I wrote the author's names on this one because there was so much extra space. No extra slices that are gonna choose it randomly, just one of these 4 books. Candelaria. Okay. I bought this one maybe a year ago. When did it actually come out? This is about, I think, a group of sisters, 2023. And I think I've heard that part of this is written in first person. Oh, I've read the first chapter of this. Yeah, like you are the grandmother or you're the grandmother of this family. And there are 3 sisters, Bianca, Paula, and Zoe. Oh, and Candy. Maybe there's 4. I think it's just all the girls are struggling with their own things and they're going to eventually maybe come back together and find love in their family again. I don't know. I love the cover of this. To be honest, I was gonna save this one for a buzzword prompt next year because I've noticed a lot of like silverware and cutlery on book covers, and not enough to make it a prompt this year. But I think I'm going to do a prompt for that next year. So I'll tell you if this is good or not. And then, well, in my opinion, what does that really matter? And then next year, maybe you can read this or something like Girl Dinner or that prompt. Maybe I'll get Girl Dinner for the G's because that is also in the closet. And these ones are going back in the closet. Somebody asked me, I posted that thing for my members, and one of the members was like, does this mean these books, the ones that you don't pick, automatically leave? And I was like, no. This is not a closet unhaul. This is just a closet TBR game show. So let's put these back and actually pull out the D's while we're in there. Okay, putting the C's back where they belong. And here are all the D's. Actually, while we're in here, you know what we could do is you could like pre-vote for the next video. In the off chance that I land on viewer selects for next time, like I could show you everything I have for the E, F, G's, and H's, and you could just vote in the comments. And then if there's a moment where I need the viewer's choice, like I can just sift through the comments and find which one was mentioned the most. Does that make sense? I don't know, but we're here already, so I'll show you them. I'm not gonna read you every title, but like if in case you care and you wanna vote for something, then these are all the E's that are coming up in the next video. These are gonna be the F options. Some of these are really big and I'm scared. These are the G's. Don't vote for girl dinner though, because then I won't have something for my cutlery prompt next year. And these are my H options. It is the smallest of all the stacks. And I want to read them all. I want to read all of these. That's what's so fun. Okay, so if you care to vote, that's where they are. And if you want me to change up anything for the next vlog, you just tell me. Like, I'll literally do whatever you want. And let's get the wheel ready for the D's while we're here. You can kind of see how I made this. So this is just a mirror. This is just a triangle. This is a plant stick. Like, you know when you stick a thing into a plant and then it has the name on it? It's one of those that you just cut in half. And then these I can actually take in and out in case I have one in the future that I decide not to punch like a hole through every single spot because I don't have to. And these are just shelf supports. I found them at Home Depot and they're the exact same size as a hole punch. So I just hole punched this and then I can pull it off and put on the next one. But the holes are not perfect, so I do have to sit here for a minute and try to figure out which one actually lines up properly. There we go. And then it's just rotating on a bearing. I actually stole one from a Lazy Susan. Rob drilled it into this circle that I found at Michael's, and then we glued it to the mirror. I figured this was the best way because then I could change out the poster board every time to be different fun colors. But we'll come back to the D's once I read Candelaria. Now, I know that this cover is certainly giving weird book vibes, right? But I thought that was just an artistic choice, and I think I went into this just expecting a literary fiction. Yeah, no. Well, it is about these sisters and this family overall. Like, there are side characters, there's relationships, there's the grandmother, the mother, the three sisters. It is three. I was reading just the names, and it's that one of them is going by a different name. So there are three sisters, and we do have the 5 women on the cover. This is magical realism. This is horror. This is weird. It's so fucking weird, you guys. It only has like 900 ratings on Goodreads. It has a 3.8 average. Like, this, more people need to read. I need to talk to more people about this. It's so strange, and it's beautifully written, and it's right up my alley, and it's kind of like an apocalyptic, kind of like end of the world feeling. And it has some culty vibes and some consumption vibes. Things that I'm not always totally into, but in here, I'm eating it up. The character I've been most intrigued by at the halfway, I'm past the halfway point. In fact, I'm almost done with it, and I just realized I didn't update you, so I needed to update you before I finished it completely, is Bianca. I'm definitely intrigued by Bianca the most, and I think that's the intent as you start out the book. She is described by one of the other sisters as the one who's obsessed with becoming Indiana fucking Jones. She gets into a relationship with an archaeology advisor. That is her career path. That's also something I'm not always into. Even if it is correctly giving us the power dynamic and telling us that it's bad, I still like often just don't want to read it, and I just think this book is handling it really well, the impact that that has on her. She worked really hard for this spot to go to her family's home country of Guatemala, and before they go on the trip, the relationship she has with this advisor makes the trip not happen for her, and it impacts her far more than him, of course, the repercussions of it. I would say a big theme of this book is seduction Bianca is seduced by this advisor. Another sister who's been missing, she is discovered, this is in the synopsis, she is thought to be dead maybe by some of the sisters, can't find her, don't know where she is. Some of them are like, oh, well, she'll come back event when she's ready. Like all the family members kind of have a different take on things. And then one of them just comes across her one day and she's this like fitness kind of influencer. And I think there's a seduction angle there with this wellness cult. Candy, our third sister, is definitely being seduced by drugs. She and her story is becoming more the focus, I feel, as the book goes on. So there is just real stuff happening, but everybody has relationships, friendships, things that are happening. Like there's a death that happens really early in the book. And that, among other moments, is the kind of feeling as the reader of, did that actually just happen? Or is this like a metaphor? Because it's told in such a poetic kind of style. And I think the entire thing was actually inspired by a poem that the author originally wrote called like 83-year-old woman survives the apocalypse or something like that. And because of that, it doesn't feel like anything's rooted in reality, which it's not. Like it feels very surreal, but so much so that like, is any of this actually happening? All the weird stuff is so fun. It's making me laugh, but also it's so horrific that, I don't know, it just makes for a really interesting read. I'm having such a good time with this. I'm so glad I'm liking it because I love this cover and I can't remember where I originally heard of it, how it ended up in my possession. Like I actually don't remember hauling this, what I knew about it, how I heard about it. And what I think is actually so interesting is I read the first chapter of this, or no, I didn't actually read the first chapter because the chapters are so incredibly long. I think the first chapter was like 50 pages. But I remember when I was reading the first chapter of everything on my TBR shelf, I read the first chapter so differently, or the, 20 pages that I read or whatever it was, so differently then than now. It's like when I'm doing that type of experiment, sorry, I'm looking at my TBR shelf and all the things. When I'm doing that type of experiment and I'm reading the first chapter, I'm not invested in the story. I'm like, hoping for a hook and I'm looking for any reason to not be reading it. And in this way, when I'm spinning the wheel and I'm just set on something, like I'm not trying this out, I was committed from page 1, I'm so much more invested in the story. And obviously that makes sense, but it's just interesting for me to think about all those books that I got introduced to and I just put them in the closet because I was like, oh, the first chapter wasn't the most incredible thing ever. So easily forgot the first chapter of everything that I read because that's what my mind was trying to do. I was trying to drop them so easily and move on to 50 more. And obviously we should be reading books, even if the first chapter isn't the best. Though this one was. I remember this being like an 8, maybe a 9. I don't know. Anyway, I'll see you again in like 10 minutes when I've officially finished it. This was definitely a Kayla kind of book. I'm giving it 4.5, 4.25 stars. I feel like, am I being a little bit picky? Maybe. A little stingy with my 5 stars yet again this year, perhaps. I didn't quite have that 5-star feeling, but it was so good. Considering this is full of stuff I don't often like. Like, it had a pregnancy focus, but I don't know, it was just so weird and wonderful, and like you never knew what was happening and it all felt so ridiculous. Kind of like watching Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is a movie that I didn't watch when it came out, even though it's so my taste. I didn't watch it for like a year or 2 after. I watched it with my channel members, which was like such a fun experience. And similarly, this I should have read when it came out. I should have been like a hype woman when it was published, but I'm gonna be that now. If you like the weird stuff that I like and like funny, absurdist writing, this is such a win. It was so interesting. I think there's a couple things specifically that I wish it had done at the ending that would have made it a 5. There was an option for the plot to go in this type of direction that I really like when things kind of come full circle. It just ended a little abruptly, which I think was right for the book, but it wasn't right for me. Regardless, we have another huge win, and this, like Beautyland, is something that's only been on my TBR for a year and a half at most, a more recent release, but I'm happy to have read them. They're definitely backlist things. They're just maybe not as backlist as we all dreamed. Finally, we're gonna end the vlog with the D's. There are 14 books on the spinner wheel for us to choose from. Dusk or Dawn or Day. Defect, would very much like to get a novella. Dark Archives, Detective Auntie, Devil House, Deathless, The Dangers of Smoking in Bed. I don't want to hear anything about me not including the as a word, but including a as a word in the A's. Like, either we agree or we don't, and it doesn't matter because it already happened. I already did it. Did You Ever Have a Family? Difficult Women, Death Valley. This one, which I now realize is just called Raging Star, but it's so tiny and it's from the Dustlands series that I did include it here. I called it Dustlands Raging Star, which is what it says here. Deep as the Sky, Red as the Sea, Dark Cities, and Destination Wedding. I did realize I forgot one. In case you noticed earlier, there was a third pink strip. I have removed that and replaced it with what was supposed to be on here. And I swapped out my choice for Rob's choice, because if I land there, I'm gonna make him make the decision instead of me. Actually, why don't we just have him spin the wheel? Based on the titles, which one would you pick?
Defect with a K. Devil House.
You can read upside down.
And Difficult Women, because that's relatable. And Death Valley, because why not?
Okay, go. Take it seriously. Make it sound good.
Defect.
Whoa, wait, that's right in between.
No, it's defect. It's inside the lines.
Oh, right. I was thinking it was in between the pegs, because my pegs aren't perfectly lined up. I did say I wanted to read a novella. You know what? I'm going to end the video with something short, and then I can get the video up on time.
Ooh, I like the cover, too.
Do you want to read it with me?
No.
Oh. This is actually the sequel of a book called Fina that I read a couple years ago. And it's about these people who are they trapped inside of an IKEA-like building? And they're like kind of like traveling, not time traveling, but like teleporting within it. And it's kind of a consumer satire. What happens in this one?
Derek is Linvarld's most... Is that it? Littenvarld? Most loyal employee. He lives and breathes the job. From the moment he wakes up in a converted shipping container at the edge of the parking lot to the second he clocks out of work 18 hours later. But after taking his first ever sick day, his manager calls that loyalty to question. An excellent employee like Derek, an employee made to work at Littenvarld, shouldn't need time off. To test his commitment to the job, Derek is assigned to a special inventory shift, hunting through the store to find defective products. Toy chests with pincers and eye stalks, ambulatory sleeper sofas, killer mutant toilets, that kind of thing. Helping him in the inventory team, 4 strangers who look and sound almost exactly like him. Are 5 Dereks better than 1?
Okay. I'm a clone girl. There's clone vibes. He's a plumber. There's an evil toilet. Tell me this wasn't the perfect pick. I've actually heard, unlike other series, because I'm really picky with series, that this sequel is actually just as good as the first, even though it's completely different and following different people.
Sorry, there's a dog ear. I just need to fix this.
Does that upset you?
Yeah. It's not even a true dog ear. It's just a little crease. Right there. Get the iron out. Welcome back to life, sweet child. There we go. We're good.
My book is now flawless.
It is flawless. PSA 10.
Can I have it? Thank you so much. Like I've said probably a million times, I personally love books that other people say are heavy-handed with their messages. I just love it. I don't know why. I think it's good for other people because, you know, everyone's at a different reading level. So a lot of times subtlety, especially when you're talking about really important social matters, kind of go over people's heads when it's just like a casual behind the scenes thing. I like when the book really spells it out for you. Like, this is how corporate America especially functions, where they tell you, you know, you can take days off and you can take breaks and we really care about your mental health. But when you go to take a mental health day or take a sick day, they're like, what were you really doing? Well, now you're going to be behind on work and we didn't have other people to cover for you. Next time a promotion comes up, maybe you won't get it because, well, you took a couple days off when you didn't need to. As if we don't all deserve days where we just exist. As if your job at a furniture store is that important that missing one day throws everything off. I mean, to be fair, for Derek, missing that one day, there were some big events that occurred and an employee went missing, but he's just an employee. Like, it's not his responsibility when there are people who are paid to be managers who should be handling all of the things that go, like, that's your point as the manager, to cover for people, to find the people to cover other people's shifts. I'm sure I've said this before, but I don't know if it was in real life or in a video. Not that this isn't real life, you and I, but I think that people will say the younger generation, whether talking about millennials or Gen Z, whatever, it doesn't have any work ethic. But I just think it's people understanding the fact that their job doesn't care about them. They're not actually that important and they'll replace them instantly. And it's not worth missing an important life event for your job. And unfortunately, there are so many jobs set up so you can get completely fucked over if you do miss work. Anyway, Derek's commitment is being questioned. Now he has to do this other work. What's the song that's been stuck in my head all week that I keep singing?
Purple rain, purple rain.
This is the book that you picked for me to read last night. Page 617.
Purple rain on repeat while sleeping until May. Weird.
They're listening to Purple Rain at work. We made it to the frozen waterfall. I haven't taken you guys here for years. I dare you to jump in it.
Well, I'm not going to take you up, so.
Hey, we did it. We made it to the end of the week. It was a long week. Tough stuff in the news. I talked about it in the last video. A couple people were like, shut up. Talk about books instead. No. Well, yes, but in what world are we not going to talk about people being shot in the street? It's interesting because isn't there an entire group of people who talk about how gun rights, I know I don't live in this country, but gun rights, like the reason they think it's okay to have like even assault rifles or they should be allowed to have 30 guns is in case of a tyrannical government that they want to fight against. But because it's not their version of a government they don't agree with, now those same people say people shouldn't have guns. Because unlike the last person unjustly murdered in broad daylight by ICE, this person had a weapon on them. Whether or not they had a weapon on them shouldn't actually matter. Because while I don't think people should have guns, is not the law that people should be allowed to have guns. And that seems to be the reasoning that people are justifying the murder of a man. And no one else deserves it either, is the thing. Like, people are mad now, people were mad last week, people were mad, you know, when it's the children, it's the women, and it's the citizens. Let's be mad about everyone and anyone being murdered and kidnapped. Can we do that? Why can't we do that? How are there people who don't agree with that? But I guess we've always known that people are okay with that because, you know, we're actively sending people to other countries to murder people. And we're all collectively okay with that. Obviously not, but like historically we are. I don't know. The tough week continues. Or I guess it's good for Liam because he has officially been diagnosed now with what's happening with his lungs. So that means a treatment plan is in action. But it just does feel like a lot is happening and it's tough. It's tough inside the family unit. It's tough outside the family unit. And there's just a lot. And we have books and YouTube videos to distract us. Should we be distracted? It's hell on earth. What more is there to say? We're going to talk about books. This was a 3.5 for me. I had a fine time with it. I have no issues with it. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. I just didn't enjoy it as much as Fina. It's a really interesting look at a sequel. I like this type of sequel because it's kind of running alongside the first book. We get to see some characters. Derek was, apparently, I don't remember, a side character in the original book, and then he gets his whole own thing. I liked, it's not cloney, but like there's him, multiple versions of him, and it's this kind of, you know, idea of faceless, like we're all the same, we're all completing the same thing, we're all just gonna keep our heads down and do what we're supposed to do, and then everything will work out. But does it ever for everyone? And all the different Dereks, it was fun, like meeting them. Some of them have different strengths than him, who's like learning from some, flirting with some. Very interesting. I just think it was just like really action-packed, constantly moving, you know, things that other people love in books. I just don't know if there was as much intrigue in the characters or some of the conversations as much as the first book was for me. But I don't know, even if I reread Fina now, after like 3 years, I don't know, would I love it the same? Who's to know? This was in my TBR closet for, I want to say 2 years. You could easily fact check, you could not easily fact check me. You'd have to watch years of hauls, but that could be fact checked. I could be wrong about how long I've had all of these books in my TBR. So at the end of the day, at the end of the week, I read 2 bangers. I read 2 fine books that I will be unhauling. And I kind of think that's a good success rate, even though I know you and I would both love for me to love every book that I encounter. And if I don't love a book, I would rather hate it. So I could rant with you about it instead of the 2 books that I left this video going like, I don't know. But it is nice that 4 books have left the closet, 2 are remaining in my life and are favorites on my shelf out there, and 2 are leaving to find a better home. So I'm unhauling 2 books, and I kind of like that. Anyway, that's it for this vlog. I don't think I'll be doing these every single month, so the next one you'll probably see in March. And I'm just gonna read as many books as I want in each video. The next one I'm gonna do another 4, but they could be 2, they could be 5, they could be 10. It's just like whatever I have time for, whatever I feel like doing. This one was 4 because in one of my previous videos, I sneakily snuck in the question, how many should I include in the first vlog? And it was very close between 4 and 5, but I counted up every single comment and 4 was the most common one mentioned. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you for another alphabet closet video soon.